Okay, welcome back. So now we're going to talk about the forebrain. This forebrain, as I told you earlier, has this green structure called the limbic system, and the rest called the cerebral cortex. Now, I want you to imagine this. All right. So imagine a huge, big paper, a thin paper, right? And what you're trying to do is just imagine you take a, let me see what I have here. Okay, now imagine this is a very small battery. Now you can see the ratio of size between this small battery and this huge paper. Now, how can I cover this battery with this paper? Well, same is the case with the brain. Especially this outermost layer is nothing but a thin layer of cells called cortex. This cerebral cortex or cerebral cortex is so thin and it's so large, and everything else under it, which are nothing but the subcortical structures, it is so small in comparison to the size of the cerebral cortex. So what the nature has done is it crumpled this paper, right, so that it can fit over these small structures called the subcortical structures. So most of the brain or the forebrain looks like it is this folded paper on itself, which is nothing but cerebral cortex, but basically this after folding, whatever structure you get, it's called cerebrum. And we'll talk about this in the last video, but for now, we're going to talk about these subcortical structures. These subcortical structures can be divided into two specific things. Some of or most of the subcortical structures are closely linked and also work together to form a system called limbic system. And so in addition to limbic system, there are two other structures. So we'll talk about those two other structures. Then we'll talk about limbic system in this video. And the next video, we'll talk about the cerebrum or the cerebral cortex. So as I said, cerebral cortex and limbic system, along with two more structures, and those structures are thalamus and hypothalamus. Okay, let's look at thalamus. Now, thalamus is this egg-shaped structure, and you have two such egg-shaped structures in your brain. And just below that is your hypothalamus. Hypo underneath thalamus, thalamus underneath the thalamus, or hypothalamus. The two egg-shaped structures called thalamus, and this thalamus acts as a relay station. If you remember the RAS, the crisscross, the bunch or crisscross of sensory fibers from spinal cord and other sense organ, spinal cord through skin and other sense organs eventually go through all these structures and eventually land in this structure called thalamus. Because thalamus is a structure, it acts as a relay station. It decides which information should go where. So that if the information is about vision, it will be sent to that particular part of the cerebral cortex called the visual cortex. And if it's about hearing, it goes to that specific part. And we'll talk about what these parts are later in the last video. So thalamus then acts as a relay station. And information first goes to thalamus, especially for these four, before it goes to the cortical areas. Also, thalamus controls sleep and wakefulness. E is missing here. Sleep and wakefulness. So it controls your life cycle. So what else controls your life cycle? Your sleep cycle. Well, now before you watch this part of the video, which is basically hypothalamus, what I want you to do is pause here for a moment and then go to, I'll post another video, a small video of not mine, but a real brain with the description of how the thalamus and hypothalamus looks. So I hope you'll watch this. Assuming you did, let's come back. It's hypothalamus now. Hypothalamus is the structure underneath the thalamus. And it regulates, hypothalamus regulates hunger, thirst, body temperature, reproduction, sleep, like the most important basic needs of humans. And this is the structure that is closely associated with the endocrine system. And one structure related to the endocrine system, which is called master of endocrine orchestra, is the pituitary gland. So the hypothalamus is connected or is in close proximity with the pituitary gland. In fact, hypothalamus plays an important role in regulating the functions of several endocrine glands. And it is an important part of the stress response. When we talk about the stress, we'll refer back to this structure, namely hypothalamus. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll stop here. So you would have learned about thalamus and hypothalamus, and probably you'll take this break to actually watch those small videos on the structure of thalamus and hypothalamus. And in the next video, I'll talk about the limbic system. And the following video, then I'll talk about the cortex or cerebral cortex.